Hi, I'm Bill Kirchman. I'm the recycling coordinator for the town of Seekonk. And with me is one of my committee members, Paul Kutu, and he and I are going to discuss the items in front of us and whether or not they belong in the recycle container. But I did want to get started as to give some background as to why we're doing this. It's the month of November, and it's a time to remember about what we should do to preserve the earth and help our planet. We have America Recycles Day, which is November 15th, and it allows us to remember what we should be looking ahead to the future of the next year. Each year we go ahead and assess what we did this past year and how did we help out getting things recycled, getting things planned out, and less waste. If you want to know how to recycle things, if you go to the DPW, the Department of Public Works, and check under recycling, you will see that it is listed, the single stream recycling is listed on that particular department website. Follow it as best as you can. So now let me go ahead and introduce Paul Kutu, who's a longtime member of the recycling committee, and he'll explain how he looks at this.
Hello. Well, we're going to go through this table and show items that have been a problem with recycling versus trashing. But before we begin, I just want to say a few comments. First of all, recycling is always a work in progress. The reason is it depends not only on technology, but also economic factors and, of course, government regulations. So what we find to do now may be different in the future. Let me also say that although in Massachusetts recycling is fairly uniform, there is some minor variation between localities. What we're going to talk about here is what is done in Seekonk. The other point I want to make is that there are two errors really we're dealing with. One error is for people to put recyclable objects into the trash. An example of this is an empty beer can. When you do that, you're wasting, in this case, aluminum. In addition, you're adding to the burden of the landfill. The other error is to put items that don't belong in the recyclable bin into that bin. When you do that, it contaminates the whole load. When it gets to the processing center, it's more difficult to sort out. In the worst case, the entire load will be diverted to a landfill. So it's important to put trash in trash and recyclable objects in the recyclable bin. Okay, Bill, let's get going.
Okay.
Let's start off with paper. This is a problem area. This is cardboard, right? But what do we do with this?
It's cardboard, but the problem is it has a wax covering to it. So it's really not able to be recycled like we would do regular brown cardboard. So the only thing we can do is to put it in the trash. I did want to make one other point that I didn't make earlier, is that the state would like to go ahead and help us decide where things go and get everyone following the same path. And in our particular instance, the Department of Environmental Protection went ahead and they formulated a website called Recycle Smart. And on Recycle Smart, they indicated various items, the items like we're going to talk about this morning. And what's going to happen is that it will tell you, well, you have this item like cans, for instance, and it will tell you what you should be doing with the cans. Not throwing them in the trash, but make sure they're fairly clean, and you put them in recycling. Those instructions are done on a website, like I said, Recycle Smart MA, which stands for Massachusetts, .org. And you can go ahead and pull that up, and there's actually a search site so that you put in the item that you have and say, well, gee, what do I do with this? And it's simple. It's going to say, well, if you have the item that you describe, then below it will give the description of what you should do. Like, should it be put in trash, or it should be recycled or it should be donated or given away. A lot of things are the more they build on this database, the better it gets. So what we'd like to do is just start out. We started out with the milk carton. And what else do you have for us, Paul?
Okay, well, the holidays are coming, right? Thanksgiving and Christmas. And this is wrapping paper. I think a lot of people put wrapping paper to go in recycling, but is that right, Bill?
No, not really, because again, it's similar to the milk carton, is that it has a covering to it, and this is also very thin and near impossible to recycle. So wrapping paper, like you'd have for our presents and gifts, they just can't be recycled. That has to go in trash.
All right. Bill, I don't know about you, but I get a lot of requests for money from organizations, and they often send these labels. And the labels are nice. They have your address and so forth. The problem is I have so many, I wind up throwing them away. Is that the right way, to throw them away or to put them in recycling?
Yeah, no, really, you really can't do anything with recycling these at all. You know, like I said, the paper is kind of waxy and covered, and too thin to be recycled, unfortunately.
All right, well.
Maybe we can get to something that we can
Okay,
recycle.
something we can recycle.
Okay.
Let's stay with this, Bill. This
All
is
right.
a paper bag.
Okay.
Can we just put this in the bin and it can be recycled?
Well, yes and no. The issue we have here is a mechanical one. The bag can be recycled, obviously, it's paper. But the issue comes on the handles. Now, if you can remove the handles, throw those away, then the bag is just fine. What happens with handles is that if they're attached to something, they get tangled within the equipment that's used to sort out the recycling material. So if you have anything tangling, we have something here. Like, for example, we've got hangers. Now, hangers are great. They're metal, and it's something that should be, if I can hand that back to you, it's something that should be recyclable, and it is. The problem is it's so thin that it gets tangled up in the equipment, and that's unfortunate. So basically what has to happen is this has to go somewhere where they can use the steel and get rid of this. So it really has to go on a bulk exchange. You know, it has to go to a place where bulky items are collected, and then we can do something with them.
Okay, we're going to finish off the paper by talking about books. I know myself and other people donate to the library and so forth, but if a book's in bad shape, what do we do with the books, Bill?
Okay. Well, with our examples, we have two kinds of books right now. This is a soft cover book. That's recyclable, and the pages are terrific for paper recycling. And this can go in recycling. With a hardcover book, though, that's a little more of a problem. The pages are fine, but the bindings have an issue about getting them separated, and they jam up the machines. So it's one of these where if you could get rid of the paper, take the paper and move that over and put that in with the paperwork and toss the bindings away, that would be fine.
All right. I would also add about books that in addition to donating to libraries, there are book bins. One happens to be at the corner of Arcade and Fall River Avenue, very close to this studio. Another one is in the back of the Rehoboth Library. And by the way, Savers in East Providence will take books,